Welcome. This is Barry Jones from the Angel School, and we're here for our weekly angel reading for November 15th through the 21st, 2021. So before I begin, I'd just like to welcome everyone, and also anyone who's new to our channel and watching for the very first time. Just a reminder too, if you haven't subscribed, to do so, and to also, at the end of the video, if you like the information that is channeled here, be sure to like the video as well. Okay, so let's see, where am I going to start? So I guess first of all, just to let you know that I'm still continuing my monthly angel reading for special offer, which is my half-hour reading, which is normally $77, but I'm extending it for 1 full hour. So if you'd like to get an angel reading with me and use that special offer, then you are welcome to do so. There is a link below the video to my webpage, theangelschool.com/services. And when you arrive on that page, you would just select the half-hour reading as it's normally printed. And then within 24 hours on the first business day of the week, I will send you a confirmation email noting the special offer for 1 full hour. Within that email will be the instructions for you to set up your appointment, to submit your availability as well. And it'll tell you the starting date where I have availability and my office hours, which are during the business days, the business week. So just pay attention to that. And I always ask people just to let me know that you've received the email. As soon as you get it, you can get back to me with the information that is required in order to set the appointment whenever you are ready. All right. And if you haven't had a chance to check out the monthly angel readings and the specific angel scopes for each zodiac sign, those are posted on my channel, and so or you can find them on my Twitter account or my Facebook page. So there are links below to those social media pages for you to be able to have a look. Okay, so let's take a deep breath. And then just center your mind. Allow it to rest within your heart chakra. And just feel the enormous blossom of your heart as it opens up to you and every desire that you have. And boy, it really feels like it's vibrating clear. And just breathe deeply and feel the air filling up your lungs. And the awareness that's expanding around you as your team of angels form a circle around you of protection and radiating towards your heart enormous waves of love. And they're showing me a tree, but the trunk of the tree was like a phallic symbol. So it actually was kind of double at one point, and then it turned into a naked behind. So, but it's just interesting because the feeling is that something you're in the alignment, or you're in a position of manifestation, and almost the sense of receiving more than what you're expecting. So it's almost like it's doubled in a way. And the thing is that where the naked behind is now in the tree trunk gives me a sense of that we need to be vulnerable. We need to allow ourselves to be vulnerable to what our higher self is offering us, and be vulnerable to the gifts that are channeling through. All right. So the trunk of the tree lets me know how much you're um, channeling and allowing the access of divine guidance to flow through you. And, it's at this time that we really need to be intuitively aware, as they show me a third eye in front of me. And we need to trust. And in order to trust, we need to be vulnerable. So oftentimes we try to protect ourselves, we try to shield ourselves, right? Um, and in doing so, we cut ourselves off. The more that we look for protections in ways, I don't know, it's almost like this sort of Garden of Eden sense, where um, before they knew they were naked, they were one with everything. Clear communication with God, and the earth and everything that surrounded them was beautiful and high frequency. But as soon as they became aware of this, they became fearful, in a nutshell, right? Became fearful. And that empowering integration with everything started to sort of slip away. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is this sense that sometimes we hide ourselves in the security of things and circumstances that are not necessarily always the best for us. And, and I guess another point that they're trying to bring across is sort of like, the clothing. Of course, we have to wear clothes to protect ourselves, but I'm just talking sort of in this, using this as an analogy, but it's sort of like we have to, in terms of this whole being exposed and being vulnerable, right? It's almost the sense of the more that we cling to these things, the more they detach us from the natural world and our natural selves and instincts, impulses, and intuition. And so I'm not telling you to walk around naked, obviously, but in a spiritual sense, yeah, I'm asking you to be naked, to really allow yourself to be open to the universe, to God, in order to learn how to trust. So you can't develop this trust if you keep hiding away or putting barriers in your way, right? And we put those barriers in our way through looking for security. We're looking to be protected from the very thing that that can liberate us. Our connection with God, our connection with nature and the universe is the very thing that can liberate us, not hinder us. So we don't need protection from that. What we're trying to protect ourselves from, or what the need for protection is coming from, is from the ego, who is afraid of any expansion and creates these scenarios in which you feel that you start to perceive opinions about other people. And, a lot of, they keep writing the word confession in front of me. I feel like that I've been having this thought, like sometimes we think, oh, people are looking at you, or they're saying this to you, saying this about you, or they perceive you doing something and they see it as this. And we feel like wrong or guilty, or we worry about this. And then we start putting up defenses to sort of, it's almost like, okay, if they were thinking that, then you go and do XYZ in order to, let's say, make it appear that you're not doing that. This is just a raw example. But if you would stop listening to your ego when it projects those things to you, because unfortunately, the ego makes us think that people have nothing to do but to watch us as individuals. And as you know from your own life, and how much your ego also causes you to be worried up, like jacked up, worried up, so hard that you only can think about yourself and your problems. You don't even pay attention most of the time to what other people are doing. Most of the time you do. But when you do, you're doing it out of judgment. And that's the ego too. So what's reality here? And this kind of reality, we have to say, there's something off about this, because it is. It's way off. And all of this prevents you from being vulnerable to God, to being vulnerable to the universe. It prevents you from being vulnerable to the source of all things, meaning everything that you want, that energy, that high frequency energy, that pure potentiality, that is the creation, the starting point, the impetus of all things. So we got to realize, like, this I don't know, the quantum field, this pure potentiality, whatever this field of life is that generates life, that field that generates all life and all things manifested. You, in order to align with what you desire, you have to be vulnerable spiritually in your heart, enough to trust, to have faith, in order to have access to that. And if we keep letting our ego manipulate our perception of what's going on outside of us and what other people are thinking, and manipulate us to look at other people in ways that's not healthy, that generates worry and insecurity, generates feelings of not being safe, if we keep allowing that to happen, because what that kind of consciousness is doing is triggering the events, because you're still a part of that. You are the extension of source, and now that source energy is attracting to you because it's unbiased. This energy that I've been trying to describe is unbiased, and you're just triggering it to work against you, to work in alignment with what your ego is convincing you to believe. So you got to stop that. I mean, we all have to stop that kind of thinking in order for that to no longer be our reality. So yes, this is what I'm trying to say in all of this. In order for us to be we have to start being vulnerable. We have to start excusing, say to our ego, excuse me, sorry, step aside. Excuse your ego, excuse him to leave the room. So that every time you start thinking and wondering what other people are thinking, and how they're thinking about you, and then the way what you're thinking about other people, those judgments, those criticism, stop yourself. Because that prevents you from being vulnerable. That's why Jesus said, judge you not, unless, because the way you judge others, that same judgment comes back at you, and not from the outside, but from within yourself. The judge is within you, and it may seem like it's coming back to you from another perspective or another angle or another person. No, it's coming through you again. Because now you believe. When you judge somebody else, you believe. You're giving credibility. The way that you judge them, you give credibility to be judged in that way by yourself. And that that disallows you to be, or prevents you from being vulnerable to your truth and the truth. Okay. Now, you see this card fell, and I don't know where to start, but I'm going to wait for them to give me a sort of a feeling about where to start. But this card fell upside down, reversed. This is the Two of Swords on the table. And actually, I ended up placing the cards right to left, as if you're reading Hebrew or some other languages that read from right to left. So my feeling is today that I'm going to be reading the cards this way, but we'll see. And they were talking to me because I had mentioned in the monthly videos. Now, you know, I'm not an astrologer. I really don't know a lot about moon signs and all this stuff, but they brought it up again. And I'm like, why are you doing this to me? So what I have understood that this moon that's coming up this week, the full moon, there is going to be an eclipse. And it is they call it the beaver moon, I guess in preparation for winter, etc. And there's also going to be the full moon's going to be in Taurus, which is about values. So this full moon is going to cause you to think about what you value. When I saw it, the sense that I get when I saw it, and I can only describe it to you, and other people may have many other opinions about this, but the eclipse gives me this sense of like a breakthrough. It's sort of like it interrupts the pattern of something. And I get this feeling that in that interruption, as I have this belief about you can't get from a problem to the solution without first having an interruption, a breakthrough that just allows the solutions to come through. The more what you focus on increases. All right. So if you're trying to fix a problem and you keep focused on the problem, what you're going to get is more of the problem. The problem's just going to be amplified. When you think that this process happens where you keep doing it and then all of a sudden you find a solution, what you had before the solution arrived is what is called a breakthrough. A breakthrough is an interruption of what was going on before it, usually, which is not helping. And this is why I often tell people, instead of focusing on the problem, implement the solution instead. That might be change in behavior, a change in attitude, if you get where I'm going with this. If you practice this, then because when you're working at the problem, you're practicing the problem. The soul, as they're writing in front of me, is already aware of the solution, because from that quantum field of that pure potentiality, the solution is expanded upon. While you're sitting there fixated on the problem, they're showing me right now that they wrote the word expansion. In that pure potentiality, the solutions are expanded upon, meaning they come up with an enormous vast options of solutions for you. And all you got to do is stop doing what you're doing. Stop worrying, stop fixating, and you can probably hear where I'm going with that. Like, stop fixating on other people, stop fixating on this, stop worrying about this, stop doing that. I know, look, I'm just the messenger here. Because do I do this? Absolutely. Have I learned? Do I catch myself? So I've learned from this? Yeah. I mean, I find a way to not do it as long, but I still do it. But the thing is that in this moment, this is something that even I I'm being shown. And so the eclipse is, I feel like what it's going to do, it's that breakthrough. It's going to interrupt something that you are projecting. Now, the full moon is about manifestation, illumination, right? So you're something is coming to fruition. The something will be revealed or something will be healed. But I feel like it's a breakthrough, the eclipse in this Taurus, in a breakthrough in your values. Like something will shift on alignment, and that eclipse will, for a moment, break that, allow us a let up in the way you were going about it. And it's almost like a free pass, because in that time, the eclipse is sort of like the hangman is like, well, like it's void, this void feeling, right? Because you can't see it. And it's interrupting. And in that process, there's an opportunity for you to have a change or a moment of clarity, which is why I feel like this card fell. Because normally, right side up, this card is like this person's gridlocked. And what I feel like, and it's interesting that they wanted to be placed here, because this is at the end of the week where the full moon, the weekend, would be Friday, the 19th. And this would then be the sort of reverse, or, well, there's different ways to read reversals. But the idea here is, like with the hangman, thinking about that every card being a part of the hangman's world. What the hangman's world is seeing the world upside down, which helps you to get new perspective. So every reversal is helping you to get a new perspective, in a sense, right? And so it gives this sense that whatever you were gridlocked about, that somehow that process is interrupted, and clarity. So I would see this as you finding clarity about something deeply profound, in the sense that something in your life that you've been just this pattern has just been going on, and something that has either made things difficult for you to figure out where you're going, or what you want to do. I feel like I'm seeing the high priestess temple here without the high priestess sitting there, and so take your time to really, I feel like, just as I'm saying, the high priestess temple, she sits there so calmly with that scroll open, right? And she sits between those two pillars, one shadow, one light. She sits between the two pillars of life, between the shadow and the light. She sits between it. She's in the liminal space, or in the doorway. But she's not affected by either. She's sort of the gatekeeper of these two aspects of ourselves. And there's an opportunity for you to witness yourself in a way that is integrated. So let go of what you think you're all about right now. Let go of what you think matters. Let go of what you're wrestling with. Like, have a truce with this and see what comes through. Just stop worrying about it. Stop fighting it, and let it inform you. And they're reminding me, they showed me a Pegasus flying in. Now, the Pegasus, the wing horses, bring information and knowledge from the higher planes, from that quantum field, from that pure potentiality. So let this sort of, the Pegasus bring in that information to you, that guidance and that love. And I know some of us have really difficulties with our mind, because it just keeps going and keeps doing things. So you might want to do something creative during this full moon, like drawing or writing or music. Do something creative, gardening, anything that will focus your mind, allow your mind to focus on one thing, but not worry about those things that you're worried about. And while you're there, if you're in the garden or wherever you are with it, have a pad and pen so that when that breakthrough occurs, that you will have it to write down. You might get clear about what your intention is. And then you may want to do that intention writing. But do write it down. And then expand upon it. What would this look like in my life? This option I'd never thought about before. Okay? All right, let's take a look at the message. All right, so we have Archangel Ariel, and this is the card, Courage. It says, be courageous and stand up for your beliefs. And, this might be something within yourself. This may be, within yourself, something that you have known deep within, but you allow your ego to create excuses so that you doubt it and then you let go. And it's because you're afraid of being in a place where you're totally unfamiliar. It takes courage to trust, to be vulnerable to that idea, and to let that idea transform your life, and to bring in the solutions and the improvements that you need in your life, or that you've been praying for in your life. If you want change, you've got to be vulnerable. Because the reason that we don't act on the changes that we're guided to make is because our ego makes us so afraid that we become rigid with fear. And we can't move. Even though we know staying where we are is just causing us to sort of rot, right? So have courage. Let go. Be open. All right, and we have these carnelian crystals, which, sort of the sacral chakras and the third dimensional chakras, but this creativity. All right, so we have the Queen of Cups. And let me just go ahead. Well, I was going to read from right to left, but okay, I followed whatever just happened. So we have the Queen of Cups. And here, this sense of, this card came up in a reading yesterday. And, this is about going with the flow. I just love this, like how she's sitting in that water and she's trusting her emotions. Now, one of the things about the Queen of Cups is that she can tend to be like wired, like a switchboard operator, but in the sense to energy, right? And the thing that can be really confusing is sometimes that we are tapped in all to the pure potentiality, and yet we're also, and that's the light, and yet we're also tapped into the energy of everyone on the planet and the shadows that we're, because our egos, we all have egos in this human experience, so what we're projecting is also has shadow. It because the ego is a part of that, there's an influence of the shadow in that energy, so it's a lower vibration. And the thing is that if without a focus on what it is that you truly love, you really can't hone in on what are those higher aspects of your life that are of great importance that you should be focused upon. And another aspect of the Queen is that, her love, her heart is so big and enormous, and this was what makes her so easily wired in this way, that she ends up getting really involved in the care of others, and sometimes can neglect the care of herself. So, this week, I feel like really take care of yourself and your own energy, not by being selfish, but by doing something that centers you, so that you're really able to be in sync with the universal wave of consciousness, and that you're following your intuition, and that you're doing, and you listen to your heart. It'll tell you, like, if the feeling changes, where it feels gets clogged or cluttered, or you get anxious, that means that, okay, you may want to do that, you may want to help, but it's just not the right time. Okay, and so really focus on doing something, expressing yourself creatively, doing something that empowers you, that you're passionate about, that also, if you're doing it and it empowers others, then keep going with that flow. Okay? I'm seeing the word strategy, which kind of seems like you may need to come up with some strategies about some of the things that automatically drain you, or they're uncomfortable for you. And you just may need to think of a way that is either kind in certain circumstances, and sometimes we just need to say no and be done with it, no explanations, right? Um, but sometimes you may want to think, okay, to tell somebody, well, I can't do this for you this week because, but at some other time, or I can recommend someone to you. This might be something that the Queen of Cups may need to start learning to do, recommending others who can help, all right, instead of being the one that does it all the time. All right, and we have the Six of Cups, okay? So this is telling me that there is a dynamic of something from the past, or inner child relationship, or some kind of relationship of innocence, of I don't know why this card, but this card almost makes me think of siblings too. Something, but there's a connection there. But the thing is that in this week was interesting, because we got the Queen here, and then this card that can relate to children. Past, I'm just trying to get a sense. Let me just kind of tune into where they're going here with this card. They're showing me the trunk of the tree, and I feel like this has something to do with a pattern in your behavior that gets healed, right? So this shows me that the clarity that you'll have in this week will be around some long standing issue that you've had that's kind of held you back, and it has been, and it's been preventing you from having the courage to move forward in your life. So be aware of the tendencies of this personality, right? To tend to kind of blend into everything. And the reason that this happens is a lack of intention. So intentions will also help. If you set an intention for yourself, and then go through that, what would it look like in my life, and then in this situation, what would it look like, in this situation, what would it look like, this will help. The switchboard will light up. You'll attract to yourself, the switchboard will light up with the things that relate to that intention, instead of lighting up with every call from the universe of every sort of energy, ego type of situations. So the thing is, because we walk around without clear intention, we're exposed to everything, and then we want to shut ourselves off. But if you set in clear intention and you go through that process, and then you are also aware of what are the challenges, what are my pitfalls, these are like, I tend to do this, I don't know how to say no, I get so involved and I get overwhelmed, and then I'm resentful. I mean, there's so many scenarios that this could play out, right? But when you're aware of that, and then when you're in the situation and they reoccur, come back, all right, and play out in front of you again, you say, oh, those are the pitfalls. And then you realize, what is my intention if I wanted to feel, I don't know, boundaries, right? Then now you would recognize, what are the healthy boundaries here? And the choices that I can make to maintain that healthy boundary. So instead of saying, yes, I can do it, oh, sure, no problem, you say, no, I can't, or, hey, I have I have somebody I could recommend. If it's a babysitter, if it's, whatever it is, I have somebody I can recommend. Why don't you give them a call? And now you've helped them, but but that was a healthy boundary for you. You offered help that didn't take up a lot of your time and your energy and your resources. So this is the kind of thing, and the ultimate in all of this is the time that now gets freed up to be available to what you are meant to be, what are your soul's spiritual priorities. And you now will have well, here we go. This is interesting. So the card, because I was feeling like pull this card. So this is the card that I pulled from the bottom of the deck, the Strength card. Major Arcana. It reminds me so much of this card, the Courage card, right? So now, what you'll have is the Strength. And this card is about that. First of all, it's about the compassion. It's about this relationship, this unlikely dynamic of the lion and the person, right? The human being getting along. So it's like that, the lion and the lamb laying down together in peace. It's an integration of the two aspects of ourselves, so here we are now, like it's almost like the high priestess, who's sitting in that liminal space. Now, when this clarity comes, you're no longer fighting, which is what worry is created around. See, when you're worrying, you're fighting something. Your energy is opposing simultaneously the self, the soul, the I am presence, your higher self. When we feel at our happiest and our most elated, when we feel bliss, they are integrated. There's peace, there's compassion, there's for either perspective. And so you want to stop fighting yourself. And that's why it's important to have clear intentions, because the process of intention creating, setting, allows naturally for this integration, this harmony of the dual aspects of the self, to find harmony and alignment, balance with your higher self. And this is when your powers from both realities become a strength. And, this is the card that often is associated with the sign of Leo. So there again, that creativity, you're channeling now all of that when those two powers come together, the light and the shadow, when they're integrated. And this is not something we talk about often, but all the cards have a lot of this balancing about. When we bring them together, we our passion, our strengths, our surface, our abilities surface. So that's why you gotta stop. That's why we have to stop worrying. We have to stop fighting. It's worrying is you're fighting yourself. You're warring between between your light and your shadow, and there is no fight between them. That's why the yin yang symbol presents that to us. There's no fight between, and all of the religious stories of heaven is that there's no more of this war between things and people, but it's really about there's only peace with God, meaning everything is one, everything is at peace, everything is unconditionally loving. And whatever happens this week will allow you to begin to get that clarity so that you can create this sort of inner harmony, peace, real strength. See, the dynamic of power that we've been believing is real is where we dominate, conquer our shadow. Or we want our light to surpass, but we have to integrate. We have to stop fighting with them. And because they're like two different ingredients that create infinite possibilities of expression, they write in front of me. And that's what's going to be really important. All right, so I send you lots of love and angel blessings, and have a beautiful, beautiful week.